All right.
Mark Striegel.
How are you, John?
Hello. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am good. I am good. We have some great guests going on tonight. My phone rings right as we start the show.
Yeah, we got a
We
great
have
show tonight. We have three amazing guitarists and musician. One who's also a lead vocalist. We've got Dave the Snake Sabo from Skid Row. We've got Michael
amazing.
Sweet, of course, from Stryper, and he has a new project called Sunbomb. And we've got Bill Kelleher from the mighty Mastodon.
And we have always ready to go Dash Vodka. Big shout out to
Yep.
Hank, who's now a supporter on my Patreon page. So I appreciate that,
Awesome.
Hank. And Hank, this is the best vodka out there. I've sworn to the listeners, John, that you get less of a hangover when you drink
Correct.
Dash. And I believe that's because it's like 7 times distilled and it's just so high end. The greatest vodka in the United States, on the planet for that matter. Hopefully
No
coming
doubt about
to
it.
all 50 states at some point soon.
Look at this custom made cup that Hank actually personally made for me.
Wow, it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, I
Isn't
have
that
one of those
awesome?
too. That's great. Yeah, that is
I've
great.
got a
Great.
lime in this, so I'm really going all out here. I've got it on a silver platter along with a full bottle of Dash just in case I need to get it going a little bit. Kick it up a notch, as they say down in
Right on.
New
Right
Orleans.
on. So we're going to get right into our interview in just a few minutes with Dave the Snake Sabo of Skid Row fame. And he's got an incredible Kramer guitar that I cannot wait to hear about, as well as getting an update on Skid Row. But let's talk to you real quickly. What is the Ace update, John?
So the Ace Frehley update is that we are working very hard on a state-of-the-art yet vintage recording studio, and I'm talking a real recording studio, not like a guy who has Pro Tools on his MacBook. This is a full-on recording studio, and we've been working nonstop on it. And I'm really psyched because I can honestly say that I've helped with the construction of this, multi-room studio. So it's going to be really, really cool when it's done, and you're going to hear music coming, new music from Ace Frehley coming out of that studio, and I suspect that you're going to hear new music from some other artists coming out of the studio too.
So Ace would essentially either produce or let other artists come there and record.
I have a feeling that that's going to happen. It's nothing that's been announced or really anything yet or talked about, but I kind of got the vibe that that's something that Ace, would love to do in the future.
That is very cool, very cool. And is it like it's a big studio? Like you can record drums there. It has
Yeah, yeah,
like
it's like a full-on
soundproofing and
studio.
all.
There's multiple rooms, drum rooms, b- you know, video rooms, multiple, you know, editing suite type desks, like the kind that you'll see like at Bionic or one of these studios. That kind of a thing.
Right. Very cool. Very
Kind of
cool.
like a mini
Awesome.
Bionic, for honestly, but with a drum room and the ability to put a full band in there and play live. Live drums. You could record a whole band live in there.
Awesome. Cool.
Multiple rooms.
We're gonna get into our interview with Dave in just 1 or 2 minutes here. I do want to remind everybody that they can connect with us online uh, at your Facebook page, at our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/talking metal. We also have all the podcasts versions of this show and the plain old audio podcast at talkingmetal.com. And you can get those now on Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're all over the place. So
No doubt
that's
about it.
stay subscribed to the podcast for sure.
Yeah, multi-platform. Mark, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm good. Just staying busy. We are posting a lot of great interviews lately. Tracy Guns, Paul Stanley, Ronnie Romero, who plays with Richie Blackmore and Rainbow, as well as a bunch of other Vandenberg and a bunch of Michael Schenker, a bunch of other bands. So really, just kind of just hitting a lot of great interviews lately. We have Jeff Tate coming up, hopefully. So really some great names. Mickey D was on, Rudy Sarzo.
Nice.
This is all like within the last 2 weeks. So really
Amazing.
fun stuff. And tonight, again, three more just incredible guests. Let's run down
No
the
doubt
guests
about
and
it.
get right into the first interview. John, tell us once again who's on the show tonight.
So we're going to start out with our friend Dave the Snake Sabo of Skid Row. And then up next is Michael Sweet from Stryper and Sunbomb. And then rounding out the show will be Bill Kelleher of Mastodon.
Excellent. Cool. So guys, when we're ready, you can send Dave on in and we will start talking with Dave. I'm pulling up some notes here.
Dave, how are you? I saw you was in summer of 2019 in Huntington, Long Island at the Ace Frehley show, and you got up on stage and played Snowblind.
What an absolute joy and privilege it was. As everybody, I've made it very clear throughout my like 35 years of being Ace is one of my hugest influences, and Kiss is one of the biggest influences on Skid Row. And so to get that opportunity to get up there and play one of my favorite Ace Frehley songs was just extremely humbling. And if you remember, I was bowing to him for like 5 minutes before we could even play the song because it's just
that was great.
He's the guy that I would sit in front of a mirror and pretend to be when I was 16 years old. And he played such a huge part in my upbringing as a guitar player. And then consistently throughout that, when we formed Skid Row and we're writing for Skid Row, his influences are all over all of our records, as is, the rest of Kiss. But I love the guy. He's been nothing but just the kindest person to me. And so I'm excited about his studio. I had heard about it. And I guess you guys are going to be doing it in Jersey.
Yeah. You're going to are you in Jersey still, or have you moved down to Nashville?
No, I'm in Long Island. I can't leave the East Coast.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're still here. So you can come. It's not going to be that far.
No, I'll definitely go. You kidding me? I'm in.
Okay. Nice.
So Dave, we originally booked the interview for you to come on and talk about something really, really cool. One of my first guitars as a kid was a Kramer Pacer, and I'm so excited that you are working with Gibson now, who owns Kramer, to bring back this great brand that just meant so much to me and my rock and roll upbringing. And you and Tracy Guns have introduced signature models, and I am just so excited because I knew Gibson bought the rights, I guess, or the brand Kramer a while ago, but they hadn't really done anything with it. And now you guys are working with them. And let's go right into the guitar itself. It's Snake Sabo Beretta. I love it. Tell us about the guitar and how this came about.
Well, this whole thing started in 1985. I was working at a music store in Toms River, New Jersey, which is where I met Rachel, and that was basically the beginning of the band. But in 85, I had an idea for a guitar, like a crazy ass paint job on it, and I wanted to make it really simple. I wanted a thin neck, thin frets, reverse headstock, very simple body design, and I wanted to have a Floyd Rose on it. And so when I had the idea for the artwork on it, there was a gentleman I worked with who was the manager of the music store, a guy by the name of Paul Unkert, who used to also build guitars there. And so we decided that we were going to build this guitar here. Now, at the same time, Kramer's only right down the road in Neptune, New Jersey. And the Bon Jovi guys had been working with them. And so I was very familiar with they were like in our backyard. So I was very familiar with their different products. And then I found out through Paul Unkert and through Rachel's brother about an airbrush artist down in that area who did like vans and hot rods and stuff like that. And so I presented the idea, like just my idea up here. I'm not an artist by any stretch. So he came up with this design. And I'm like, there's no way. That is just too killer. For a 20-year-old kid, that's like amazing. And then he put it on the guitar body, and I was like, this is out of control. So we put the guitar together at the music store, and it was good. It was cool, and it worked, and I guess we did as good a job as we could at that point. And then we got introduced to the Kramer folks through the Bon Jovi guys and became very close with them. And they were just amazing. They welcomed us into their family as if they had known us forever. And they took really great pride that we were a Jersey band. And they were, we rehearsed in a garage. We played all the local dives just because of our friendships with the Bon Jovi guys and other people in the area. We weren't given anything, we had to work for everything. And so they saw the band, and they were like, well, let's, or they heard some of the demos, if I'm not mistaken. And they were like, let's see if we can work together. And we were like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So they started hooking us up with some guitars. And I said, well, I have this snake guitar. And they're like, let's take a look at it. And they totally kind of revamped it with the exception of the Beretta body. It was a Warmoth body, but it's spec'd up to the Beretta. But we kept the Warmoth body, and then everything else on it became Kramer, and they set it up, and it just played and sounded amazing. And that played a huge part in our first 2 records and our first, 2 world tours, or more than 2 world tours, I should say. And then as time got on, we Kramer started kind of going downhill a little bit, and they weren't as prominent as they were, and so they started cutting back a little bit. And we all remained friends, but it was unanimously decided that we would go down and see what else is out there that maybe might fit our needs at this particular point. And so through many years of going through different guitar companies and loving all of them and having great experiences with everybody, it turns out about 3 years ago, well, actually even longer than that, when I was in LA, living in LA, managing bands out of McGee Entertainment in Los Angeles, there was a kid that came in to intern for me. And I destroyed this guy, verbally abused him, and just in a good way, as Jersey sarcasm goes. And he took it all. This guy by the name of Todd Harapiak, he took it all like crazy, and we got along fantastic. And so he said, "What's it going to take to get that snake guitar?" He wanted me to give it to him. I'm like, thing's packed away, man. That's my baby. That's packed away. That's not going anywhere. Cut to, and that was probably 2007. Cut to about 2.5 years ago. I'm reading online about Dave Rude from Tesla, about his white Epiphone Explorer. And in it, he thanks Todd Harapiak. And I'm like, that can't be the same dude. So I reach out to him. I go, his ass face, is this really you? And he's like, gets back to me. He goes, absolutely. He goes, when are we going to do a signature model on that snake guitar? Like the first thing he said to me.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, and I'm thinking he's just, BSing me. And then he goes, Kramer is owned by Gibson now. And I said, I had no idea, because I didn't. I wasn't up to date on it. I was really excited about that because I had heard about all the changes that were going on with Gibson. It was really inspiring. So we happened to be down in Nashville at the time. And I said, well, I'll consider it if you get me one of these. And I sent them a picture of an Explorer. And sure enough, 3 days later, I had an Explorer at the house. And I'm like, wow, he's for real. So we started talking, and he introduced me, and I brought Scotty with me to Cesar, who's like the CMO of the company, and
Right.
Al John Go. And we started just having a light conversation, and it felt like we all knew each other for a really, really long time. They were well versed on our history. I mean, Al John's from Argentina, and he saw us play down there in 1992. And the fact that he wanted to do something with me in 2002, 2020, 2021 was just, it was so humbling to me. And he was like, this will be a passion project for me, man. And so Todd, I really owe all the credit in the world for this to Todd to begin with, because he never let up on the idea and he actually pushed it through. And to see Gibson, the resurgence that they've had and the way they've really turned everything around and went back to being who they are, which is a guitar company. They're not an electronics company. They're not a specialist company. They're a guitar company, man. And there's such a huge part of the history of rock and roll that was getting lost. Like when we heard that they might be filing Chapter 11 like 3-4 years ago, we were brokenhearted. We were like, how can the world live without Gibson? It just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And so it was amazing to see the turnaround, and we toured the factory, and you could sense this energy, this great energy and positivity. And everyone was so kind and respectful. And then I spoke further with Cesar, and it was like, we're going to do this. And they tracked down Dennis Klein, who was the original artist, and got the artwork, and said, we're going to do a limited run. And I'm like, I never had a signature edition before. I don't know what this, is like. And they were like, 35 years and you haven't had one? I'm like, no, I never sought one out. Maybe it's my, uneasiness with that portion of my ego. I don't know. But I can't tell you
how that all worked. With
it really
Todd
was. It
and
happened
like,
so fast. Jim DeCola is the guy who made the pickups for me. Oh, and I didn't even know it, but I worked with him at Peavey when I was with Peavey years ago. When I endorsed the 5150s and the Wolfgangs, when Edward was still there. So he did Edward's pickups, and at one point did mine as well. So it was great to have him back in the fold.
Wow.
So
that's
Dave,
great,
I am like the tech nut, especially when it comes to guitars. So I just had a couple of quick things that I wanted to ask you about some of the tech specs. Now, one of the things that I hadn't even thought of before, which is a basic thing, is that I know that you've said that having a reverse headstock, which I just think looks super cool, actually helps the guitar's balance a little bit better, right?
Absolutely. For me, it does. Absolutely. It does. It looks great. But yeah, as far as the balance goes, it sits perfectly on me.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, you can like put your hands off of it and it doesn't like fall way down one way or the other. So that's great. Now, I love the fact that you got the D-tuner on there. And then I wanted to ask you, and for fans, for what that, if you listeners, what that is you can tune down to a drop D tuning quickly by just flipping a switch. And that's on the Floyd Rose. And is that an Eddie Van Halen thing?
Yes, right?
Yeah.
D-tuner, yeah.
Adam Reaver and
Right.
and Eddie came up with it for FU Tone. And
Nice.
Adam's an old dear friend. His products are amazing. I use them on all my guitars. And you know what? We usually, like a lot of times, we usually open up with Slave to the Grind. So which is drop D. And we have a couple other things that are drop D too. So for me, it's really easy. It's just like a flick of a switch and I'm there.
That's awesome. And Mark and I both know Adam as well. And then Mark, I'll let you jump back in, but I just want to ask one more question. The fingerboard, your old guitar probably had a rosewood fingerboard, I would say, and now this new one has Indian laurel, and you said that's almost like an ebony even.
It is. It feels smooth and slick like that. It doesn't look like an ebony fretboard per se, but it feels like one to me. And I think that the frets are a little bit bigger on a little bit wider on this one than they are on the original, but I had no problem with that. It felt great. Like I'm playing the prototype. I'm playing the prototype live. Like, like I just
Awesome.
made some quick adjustments, and it's not like I'm like I'm keeping this and I'm playing it live. You guys just got to go by memory on the on the distribution of
Awesome.
this.
Very, very cool.
Right on. And Snake, again, we will direct people to the website where they can check out the guitar. It is Snake Sabo Beretta by Kramer. And let's talk about Skid Row. You guys have a singer, ZP. Can you tell us a little bit about your history with him, where he came from, how long he's been in the band?
ZP's been in the band between 4 and 5 years. He originally sang for a band called Dragon Force. We had become friends with him when he had his own band in the UK called IMI. They opened up a bunch of shows for us, and we hit it off really well, especially Rachel and him. And so when we started looking for a singer, he was kind of the first person that we reached out to. And he lives in the UK, so it doesn't make things easy, but we flew him over to Nashville, jammed with him for a little while. And the great thing about him is that he came in and he knew way more songs than we did. Like he knew 18,
Wow.
19 songs, and we were prepared to play, 3 or 4. And so he
Skid
just
Row
was like,
songs? He knew more Skid Row songs than Skid Row?
he did. He absolutely did. And so we jammed on a bunch of stuff, and he just was kind-hearted, and you could tell he was a team player. It wasn't a front. And so we said, okay, let's do this on kind of a trial basis because we've had some bad experiences lately. So, so
Sorry for laughing.
yeah, we decided to do a bunch of shows with him, and kind of not officially in the band, but the more we played with them and the more comfortable we felt, it was inevitable. We all knew that he should be in the band. So it didn't take very long before to make it sort of official, but you could tell right off the bat that this was going to work. And one of the great things about him is that he respects the legacy of the songs and the history of the band. So he wants to do them justice. And of course, he's his own singer, but he wants to stay as true to the original as possible. And I really respect that because one of the things that's interesting is that he grew up on us. So he's got, he knows our complete history, which is why he knew all those songs. Because he would practice them all the time, and he would warm up with them when he was in Dragon Force. So it was definitely serendipitous that it would happen, and he's brought so much positivity to the band that it's funny. We all actually get along really well, and we all really like each other. And on days off, we hang out with each other, and we're always in constant contact with one another, especially through this pandemic, which has made it very difficult to sort of communicate. But thank God for Zoom, and
Yeah.
Right.
and we've done a bunch of we've written a bunch of stuff via Zoom. So it's not the ideal way of doing things for us, but it's what you have to do at this particular point.
Right on.
Right.
On. And
Now,
he's been with you for how many years now?
Between 4 and 5.
Right. And I saw him with you guys. I think it was M3. Was it 2019? I'm thinking that was a great show, really. M3 is such a great festival. You guys are great.
It's tremendous. It's tremendous. I love playing there. And, it's on the East Coast, on the Eastern Seaboard. Kix is always there, which is always a bonus.
Right.
We've known those guys since the very beginning of Skid Row, so it's great to see them. They're such a great band. And they always put together a really good bill.
Yeah.
So
no doubt about it. Yeah, M3 is always great. Snake, I wanted to just touch way back to something early when you started playing guitar that I just thought was a cool thing. And I know this, but maybe some of our listeners, and we've got some new listeners to the show, so they might not know this. When you started playing guitar way back in like 1978, 1979, your friend was somebody who everybody is a household name, and he was initially showing you stuff, and then he turned you on to his guitar teacher. Why don't you tell us about that? And I know you know what
That's
I'm talking about.
exactly true. I grew up with John Bon Jovi, and we're still the best of friends. Matter of fact, we texted each other today and just break each other's balls. That's all our texts consist of. It's never, "Hey, how you doing?" It's never ever anything like that. It's like time to get verbally beat up, you know. So, but when he lived 3 blocks away from me up the street in Saraville, New Jersey. And so I think I had met him when I was around 10 or 11, walking up the street to a friend's house who lived across the street from him. Saw him outside playing basketball and challenged him to a one-on-one game, and we became friends from there. Shortly thereafter, he started playing guitar, and I was fascinated by it. Roughly around the same time, I was about 14 and a half. My brother bought a terrible acoustic guitar, like from the Sears and Roebuck catalog, played it for about 3 weeks and gave up on it. Now, this was a opportunity for me to one up my brother. So I started teaching myself utilizing the Roy Clark quick pick and fun strumming home guitar course,
I
which
love that.
you bought it off of the television. It was 4 albums and a bunch of books, instructional books. And then I was getting frustrated with that. It was boring, whatever. So John offered to teach me a bunch of chords and stuff like that and some scales. And luckily I learned them real quick. And then he suggested, he goes, "You know what? Why don't you just go to the guy that teaches me? He lives right across the street." And his name was Al Paranello, and he became a mentor to both of us. And what an amazing human being. I mean, he was a great teacher of not only the guitar, but of the passion that should go into playing it, and taught us both a lot about life, um, and how music plays, excuse me, such an important role in life. And it's stuck with us ever since. And again, he was our probably my as far as a mentor goes in my early years, he was the most prevalent and the most powerful.
What an amazing teacher, and what, like, how cool is he, and how great is he as an influence that two of his students have went on to do such great things in the music industry. I think that's really a great story. But
Well, it's pretty amazing to think that we live in a 3 block radius. Like it's
wow,
a it's a it's a 1 minute walk from John's old house to Al's old house, and it was a 5 minute walk from my house to both of theirs. So
wow.
it's just incredible. I look back on that, and we were unbelievably close with Al until he passed away, and John and I are still unbelievably close. So there's something really to be said about that Jersey brotherhood thing.
Right on,
Absolutely.
right on. Now, Snake,
And Mark and I are in Jersey as well, so we're hoping to carry that on in the future.
I know you are. I know you guys are in Jersey. I love that.
Yeah, when you come, when the pandemic or whenever you feel like it, come down and hang with us in Jersey.
Man, I'll tell you what, you won't get me out of there. I'm addicted. I'm a Jersey boy through and through. And I'll tell you what, I lived in California for 11 years, and that was 14 years too long. And I missed Jersey every step of the way. And the funny thing is
Yeah,
that the majority, I had a small group of friends out there, and most of them were from Jersey or
right.
somewhere on the East Coast. That's just the way it is. And so when I
No
got
doubt
back
about
to
it.
the East Coast, even though I'm out on Long Island, I'm on the East Coast again. I'm
Right.
right on.
I consider Long Island, Manhattan, and Jersey all one thing, pretty much. Like,
without a doubt. I mean, you know what? Twisted Sister being from Long Island, they had such a huge influence on us in the early days.
mm,
Just the fact that they worked so hard and they were able to make it the way, to the heights that they did. And you could see them 5 nights a week grinding it out. And when they finally made it, I mean, I couldn't believe I was going to see them. 2,000, 3,000 people were showing up, and they didn't have a record deal. I was like, "This is insanity."
Yeah.
And then they got signed, and it was like, and you saw them all over MTV and touring everywhere, and you're like, for a kid from, from Sayreville, it was like, okay, Twisted Sister's done it, John Bon Jovi's doing it. It's very possible, and
Right.
it was a huge influence.
No doubt about
So
it.
you mentioned earlier that you work for McGee Entertainment, I guess it is, and I
Yes.
wanted to ask you about that because I mean that's a enormous name. Doc just booked us a Paul Stanley interview recently, which was absolutely incredible to be able to speak to my idol. But what do you do with Doc, and what's your role in McGee?
Well, I'm sort of like an independent contractor. I do management. And when I moved out to LA, I moved out to LA in about 2001, uh, sort of trying to find my way out there, and then realized that I've always had an interest in the business of music and was able to educate myself pretty well. And I had great teachers in Doc McGee and Scott McGee, amazing teachers, and the Bon Jovi guys. And a group of, all the agents that we ever worked with around the world and the different labels that we worked with. It was all extremely educational. Um, I always wanted to be the guy that could come into, the president of a record label's office and not be dumbfounded in the corner because I didn't understand the terminology and what it meant of what they were speaking of when it came to contracts and terminology. Um, so I educated myself, and as I got older, I took a more of an interest in wanting initially to work with friends if that was possible. Um, and so I'm like, Doc, just let me work out of the office here. No, 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 no. You're a pain in the ass. Blah blah blah. Stick to writing music stuff like that. And yeah, I get that. But we had some downtime, and so I just kept hanging out at the office in LA. I came in every day and sat at a desk and just went around the office because there was probably 12, 13 people working there. I'm like, "Can I help out with anything? Can I," very humble, not using my success with Skid Row to any of my advantage at all, just being like, "You know what? How can I help?" And that led into me becoming a part of this show that we put on for the troops at Camp Pendleton, um,
I
which
remember.
was like 60,000 people, and
Mm.
Godsmack was there, and Destiny's Child, Richie Sambora, uh, Kiss. It was a mind-boggling event, and that was kind of, okay, here you go. You're thrown into the quicksand. See if you can survive. And over the course of, 48 straight hours of being awake and running around like a crazy person and basically being the liaison between all the acts that were on the bill and our executives, that's how I was utilized. And it went over amazingly. And so I was like, I like doing this. I like talking to the different artists. I knew a lot of them. They're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm in management." They're like, "No way." And so
Right.
shortly after that, I started working with a singer-songwriter in California by the name of Randy, Coleman, whom was amazing. Um, and it was a different thing for me, but we were able to get him some good publishing deals and things of that nature. And then shortly thereafter, um, Rex Brown came into the office and said that, "Well, Philip and him and Pepper are putting Down back together, and we want you, we want to know if you're interested in managing it." And I'm like, "No." And I go, "You
Right.
guys are my friends and really good friends." And I go, "The only way that I would do it is if that we ever saw a time where our friendship was being destroyed, we'd have to walk away from each other to somehow preserve that friendship." And so we started working together. and we still do. Rex is no
Wow.
longer with the band. He's gone on to do his own stuff, but
Right.
we still work together, and it's really been such a great life experience to work with, with friends. Philip has been my buddy since they toured with us in 1992, and we've always maintained a really close relationship. We're like, the least likely of people to be like really good friends, but yet we are. And it's funny. He's so not a difficult person to work with or manage. Very, very smart.
That's cool.
Uh, very, very open to listening to alternative ideas, and not completely set in his ways like a lot of artists who have stamped their name on the music industry are. Um, and he's been a pleasure. And same thing with Pepper Keenan and Kirk Winstein and Jimmy Bauer. They've been amazing. We've had so many great moments together, and hopefully they'll start working again soon. They've taken like a 3-year hiatus, and Philip's been doing the Philip H. Anselmo and the Illegals, and did Arson Anthem for a little while, and then Superjoint for a little while. So Scour he's doing. So he's got a lot of stuff on his plate, and Kirk's got Crowbar, and Pepper's got COC, and Jimmy's got I Hate God and Superjoint as well. So they've always had a lot of stuff going on. And Down has always been a band that would put out stuff and then, walk away for a little while. And we always knew that. And that's just the way it's been. So, but I think that within the next year, they're going to have
Wow.
some stuff coming out.
We would love some more Down music.
Cool.
That would be incredible. Snake, we do have another guest coming on, so we do have to kind of wind things down. I did
Sure.
mention to the listeners that we were going to be talking with you, and I always like to try to include a question from the listeners. So here's one for
Yes.
you. Would you mind asking Snake about the possibility of Subhuman Race being released on vinyl? I know it's not the favorite of the bands, but I love it so much. It was my first Skid Row record. Do you
Uh,
have control over that? Any thoughts on releasing that on vinyl?
there is the strong possibility that everything that we've done with Atlantic Records is going to come out in a box set.
Wow.
We're working on all of that now, believe it or not.
Nice.
Wow.
So yes,
That's
there's a
very
very good there's a very good possibility. Rhino handles all of that stuff, and so from what I'm told by them, that they are working on doing all of the records that we did with Atlantic
Right on.
on
so
vinyl.
And
cool.
Snake, I also wanted, before we let you go, to give a big shout out. You mentioned him earlier, Todd. What was his last name again? Todd.
Todd Harapiak.
Yeah. Big thanks to Todd, because he actually hooked up this interview for us. So I
Nice.
appreciate
Yes, he
that.
did. He did. And
Yes.
he's great, man. I mean, he's got so much passion, and he's got a wealth of knowledge, and he just loves what he does. And I'm really, really grateful that he's a friend, and that he's done so much for Scotty and myself.
Right on. Right on. Well, Snake,
Excellent.
we wish you all the best. We cannot wait for Skid Row to get back out there and playing shows. We're ready. So hopefully we get this coronavirus thing in the rear view mirror very soon, and we can get our live
Well, we're
music back.
supposed to start in July, so let's hope, and
Yeah.
going on the road in July. But thank you guys so much for your time. I love talking
Thank
to
you.
fellow Jersey boys.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Snake, we will see you on the road. I'll be there no matter what.
Excellent. Give Michael my best. I love Michael. Michael Sweet.
Absolutely. Yeah, you might actually be
Absolutely.
able to say hi to him if you hang on. You can go into the backstage room here, and he'll probably be
Ooh.
there waiting
Yeah.
to come on. So
Okay.
thanks, Snake.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to see it.
Okay.
I'd love to see him.
Take care, Snake.
Thanks.
Thank
All
you
right.
again. Take care.
Ladies and
Yeah, you
gentlemen,
too.
Snake from Skid Row. And yeah, excellent stuff. I gotta crack a beer real quick here. First drink
Yeah,
of the evening.
I'll have a. You know what I'm gonna have? Check this out. This is a springtime margarita. It's one of the drinks on my menu. I still love Dash Vodka the best, but this is just something else.
This is I get mixed up because it's backwards. There we go. A double
Yeah.
IPA. Yeah.
Nice,
All right.
nice. I have a little silver platter here, as if you might be able to see, and I have my Dash, and I have my
Oh.
springtime margarita. made by Drinkworks,
Dude,
which is
I
a
don't
machine.
like
Have you ever
going to your
seen?
social media page because every time I go there, I get hungry. You're showing these
Oh yeah.
beautifully cooked meals. I keep telling
Mm,
Emily, I said, we have to go to John's place and have him cook us a meal because, wow,
I
it
will.
is
That's my
really
new
good
thing.
looking stuff. And I'm sure it tastes amazing.
Thank you. I will definitely cook for you guys. That's my new thing. During this pandemic, I'm becoming John the chef, heavy metal chef.
Right on. Well, I want to just give a shout out to the crew. Whenever they are ready to bring Michael on, whenever he's ready, no rush. We are ready for him. Um, Stryper has some news, and also Michael has some great music, which I had the privilege of hearing called Sunbomb, which is just amazing stuff with Tracy Guns. There he is.
Hey
Michael,
guys,
how are you? Thanks for coming on today.
of course. Thanks for having me. Great
Hey,
to be here
before we
with you
get
guys. And
started,
hello to Snake. Snake is somewhere else. I don't see him on my screen, but
oh,
he said
okay.
he loves me, and I return the love. And that's not. I'm not just saying that because he's here, but he's one of the few guys I could count on two hands, maybe, who's about as humble and incredible as it gets in this business. So he's just a true gentleman. Always a pleasure. Love you, Snake. How are you, brother? Hope you're well, man.
Excellent. Yeah, he is awesome. And Michael, I want to get right into talking about Sunbomb and everything, but I cannot start without mentioning that way back in 2005, before there was ever even such a thing as podcasts with celebrity rock and roll interviews, you were our first interview, and I interviewed you at BB King's along with the whole band. And then I accidentally erased the interview because it's not like today when you can go with like a little handheld mic. I had this big laptop and all kind of contraption. And then you were nice enough to do a second interview with me that same day. And that's literally on one of the very first Talking Metal episodes in 2005. So thank you for getting this started.
Are you saying, contrary to popular belief, that I was nice? Wow.
Yeah, you were so nice. And after I erased this amazing interview that you took the time to sit with me and do, I was afraid to say, just because, not because of anything I heard about you, but just because you did such a great interview, that I accidentally didn't get it, or I got it and erased it. And then you were nice enough to sit back with me again. And I said, look, can we do another interview? And all the guys did. And that that was actually our first interview with somebody of your
With a
stature
celebrity.
on our show.
Yeah,
I
that was
remember. I
episode.
remember that, and sadly, BB King's is no longer, a
Right
place
there anymore.
I know, man. And we played there quite a few times. I always loved playing there. Such a great. It was small, but that's what made it really cool and intimate. It was really nice to play there, and I remember it, man, specifically. Of course, absolutely.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah,
And
it was
that was, I
awesome.
believe, episode 10. And this is, I believe, is 917 or 16. So we've come a long way. And you've been on numerous times through the years. So we always, it's always a pleasure to talk with you, Michael. And I got to tell you, Tracy Guns was on recently, and he really hyped up this thing you guys are doing, Sunbomb. And I was just sent a link to it, and wow, I'm totally blown away. I'm not just saying this to kiss your butt. Sunbomb is on fire, and I do want to talk about some of my favorite songs off the record. But what a combination you guys are together, and what great music. How did this all come about?
Well, Tracy was working on this project and this music with Frontiers before I was ever involved. And I think he had a singer in place. I can't recall his name. I mean, no disrespect, but he plays bass in Whitesnake, bass guitar, and sings as well. And I can't recall his
Michael
name at the moment.
somebody, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Michael Devin.
He was involved.
Yeah.
He was involved, and then something happened, and they went their separate ways. And then Tracy reached out to me and sent me a song, and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Yeah, it's cool." He goes, "Do you want to sing it?" And I said, "Sure." And I thought it was one song, and then it wound up being Tracy wanted me to perform and sing the entire album. And it looked as though it wasn't going to work out for quite some time. So he started talking to other singers, Stephen Pearcy, Dee Snider. He was going to make it like a multiple singer album. And Frontiers, I guess, wanted to stick to the original plan of me singing it. We were able to work out the schedule. And I wound up co-writing some of the melodies and lyrics and singing all the vocals on the album. It's a very raw, not a lot of overdubs, very raw, in your face kind of approach, the entire album. And that's what's really cool about it. It's a throwback to the early days, like the early 80s. And even some of the music, the style is almost like a 70s little Sabbath. It's definitely got a different, darker vibe to it musically and lyrically speaking. And it's definitely a little different for me, which is really cool.
Yeah,
One
I
of the
would
things
say
that I
so.
think
And
is,
go ahead, John.
oh, Mark, I was going to say, just to touch on that, what one quote that I heard was that Tracy said that this is like the album that he would have made if he would have had the opportunity to make a record when he was 17. That's what he was into at that time of his life. And to me, I hear like Iron Maiden, I hear, like, some really heavy stuff. And you wouldn't necessarily, when you think Tracy Guns, you think LA Guns, you don't think that type of stuff, but it is Sabbathy. I think it sounds in some cases like Iron Maiden, but I just think it's amazing. And I mean, the vocal performance that you're doing on this is just outstanding, and the layers, and I love it.
Well, man, I'm glad you like it, bro. I mean, I'm trying to. I mean, I can only stretch myself so far as a vocalist. I have a particular style and a particular signature, for lack of a better way of putting it, tone and sound. And it's almost impossible for me to break out of that or break free from that. So you get what you get. I did grit it up a little bit more and stretch myself a little bit and try some different things melodically, but it's still me singing, and people either love my voice or they hate my voice. There's no in between. And well, that's
we love
fine.
It.
I mean, I'm glad you love it, man. I'm really happy to hear that, but there are a lot of people out there that hate it, and that's fine. It doesn't stop me from continuing down the path that I'm on and doing what I love to do, and continuing to make music. So it's really cool.
The opening track is called Life, and it comes in with this really interesting kind of dark guitar part. At times, almost like a Norwegian black metal feel to the guitar part. And then your vocals come in kind of surfing over top of this craziness. It's just a great way to start the record off. Any comments on that specific song, Life?
Well, I know that song is being released tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
In the form of a music video. And we were able to put together a pretty cool music video, all things considered, being under COVID and the pandemic and not being able to get together in the same room or what have you. Tracy shot his footage in, I believe, Denmark. And I shot my footage in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and then it was all put together in Italy. Wow. And it's that song Life. So it's going to be interesting to see what people think, and it's different, man. It's really cool. And I'm just honored that Tracy would want me involved. I'm honored that anybody would want me involved. I mean, here I am, this Stryper guy who, we do our thing, and the fact that anybody wants to work with me always kind of blows my mind. And, it's very humbling, so it's really cool to be able to do projects like this.
Yeah. And the second song on the record, that's very Sabbathy. I mean, that has more of that 70s Sabbath vibe to me. I think, is that Take Me Away? Is that the second one?
Oh yeah. That's very Sabbathy for sure. Like old school Sabbath. Yeah. It's got that real, almost like doom metal, real slow and dark. For sure. Now that's really, in terms of, if I had to pick a track that's really different for me, I'd say that one.
Right on. Other ones I love, Better End, with love that vocal melody and harmony you do right before the guitar solo, kind of over that mellower part. World Gone Wrong. What are the lyrics in that, Michael? Is it reverse the hate, love creation? Is that what you're singing there?
Reverse the hate, exactly. And the lyrics, it's
Yeah.
funny because speaking of the lyrics, originally, a lot of the lyrics were written by Mitch, a guy named Mitch. And the first song that I got, I thought it was a joke. I was lying in bed with my wife and I opened up the first lyric and it was called Witches. And I'm like, witches? Okay, what's this? So I started reading them and it was about burning witches. And I just felt like instantly, like, is this April Fool's? Is someone pulling a joke out? What's going on here? I'm not singing a song about burning witches or even witches for that matter. So I wrote everybody and I said, guys, what's up here? This is a joke, right? And it wasn't a joke. And we had to basically have all the lyrics revamped and rewritten by Alessandro at Frontiers. And then the lyrics were presented, and definitely at that point in time, I felt like, okay, these are lyrics I can put my name on. These are lyrics I can sing with conviction. It doesn't compromise who I am as a person. It doesn't alienate me from my fan base because I can't do that, you know?
Right.
So it worked out in the end. And all the lyrics, even though they fit with the music, when you really read them on their own, they're very inspiring. They're not negative and dark and off base.
Right.
Now,
Well, that's
did
what I got from World Gone
Alessandro
Wrong.
write those? Oh, Mark, I was going to ask. I'm sorry, guys. Did Alessandro write those with you in mind, like the new versions of the lyrics?
Yes, basically, long story short is I said after I read the witch lyrics and then I read a couple other lyrics and I'm like, yeah, these lyrics aren't really gonna work for me. I said, hell, I'll just, pardon my French, HE double hockey stick. I said, I'll write the lyrics. You know, it'll be quick and easy, and they decided not to do that. I think mainly because Alessandro is an in-house producer and publisher, and
Okay.
I think they just felt it would be easier for him to write them, and it would make more sense in terms of legalities and whatnot. So he wrote them very quickly, sent them to me. I fine-tuned them. I went through and kind of tweaked lyrics here and there because of the language barrier. You know, Alessandro's Italian, and it just had to tweak a few things here and there. And I also tweaked some of the melodies and put my own spin on the melodies, and did some things that weren't there and kind of made it my own. And thank God when Tracy got Take Me Away, his first response in a text was, I think it was like, I'm effing blown away or something to that degree. And he was really, really into it. And it was really cool to see that. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm really into it too. And it's not just the Ozzy era Sabbath. It's like I hear Dio era Sabbath, and Tracy mentioned that small portion of Sabbath history where Ian Gillan was in the band. I hear that too. Now that I hear the whole record, it is a great listen. Sunbomb is the band or project. Tracy Guns, Michael Sweet, and who else? Who's playing drums on that? Do you know? There's great drumming.
That is Adam. Who
Hamilton.
Adam Hamilton. Yeah, Adam Hamilton, who used to be in. I think he was in L.A. Guns. I don't know if he is. I don't know if he's in LA Guns at the moment, but he played drums and actually, I think he produced the stuff too. I know he mixed it. Great guy, man. Love him. Really cool people to work with and for. And it was just really cool. But, you know, there are some people out there who aren't going to dig it. I can't recall the guy's name or the name of his band, but the guy that runs Metal Sludge, I guess he gave it like 1 star, you know, and hated it. And it's like it's the way it goes. You know, you can't win everybody over.
Well, it is a raw,
I love
aggressive listen. I mean, it's personally the type of stuff I love. I love, like, again, that some of that doomy, sludgy stuff is always stuff that I love, and your voice going with that, I think, is something really special. But let's talk about Stryper. Now you're doing something really cool. You're reworking an album that you were promoting when you first appeared on Talking Metal back in 2005, Reborn, and you're going to rework it as Reborn Again. Can you tell us what this is all about?
It's definitely a little confusing for people, and I can understand why. But to explain what it is, basically back in 2004, after our 2003 tour, which wasn't an official reunion, just a celebration tour, I went home and recorded and wrote and produced a solo album called Reborn. And it was the exact album that you hear from Stryper minus In God We Trust. I mean, like everything, it's like a duplicated copy of that album, exactly the same, everything. But Stryper re-recorded it with obviously Robert and Oz and Tracy, who was our bass player at the time. And we copped note for note everything. We added a couple things here and there to make it a little different, but we copped everything because everybody really liked it. And I always liked the original version better because I felt when Stryper went in and re-recorded things, something happened to a lot of the tones, the guitar tones, the drum tones. They just weren't, they weren't hitting me like the original. They lost their punch and it just got over compressed and lost its transience and dynamics. And that was retained on the original version. And I always said in the back of my mind, gosh, I'd love to release the original version someday, you know, just so people can hear it. And I'd like to, along with that original version, add what I always wanted to add: guitar solos, a few high notes, a few things here and there to beef it up a little bit, make it cooler and better. And that's what I did. And it's my original version with Derek Kurzweil on drums, a guy named Lou Spag on bass, and I'm playing all the guitars and added a bunch of solos. And man, I got to tell you, it sounds, I mean, I'll never listen to, and then no disrespect to Stryper at all. I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. It's just, I'll never listen to the Stryper version ever again. I mean, this new version sounds night and day in terms of the sonic quality and the punch. It's just like, it just hits you in the face. It's so punchy. So I'm really excited for people to hear that. I released through my website 1,000 vinyl and 1,000 CDs. They're all sold out. I had to do a new run of CDs and a small run of vinyl. Those are selling really quickly. People are asking me if I'll release it as a download at some point. Probably not, but maybe. I don't know. It was more just a labor of love for me to just kind of make it available as a special package to special people. There you go.
Right on. And we do really have to let you go soon, Michael, but is Oz doing okay? I mean, we've heard about some of the medical issues he's dealing with and we're thinking about him. Any updates?
Thank you, man. He's doing great. Believe it or not, he's doing really great. Just a few days after surgery, he was pretty much back to normal in terms of how he sounded, you know, talking to him on the phone. And he's going to be great, man. He's going to be fine. He's heading home, I think, tomorrow. And he wound up staying close to the hospital just in case anything were to happen. And he's doing great, man. He's in good spirits and everything's cool.
That's great.
We're so happy to hear that. Absolutely. And Michael, guys, one more funny thing that I want to say before I let you go is that back this had to be the earlier 80s. There was a store in our hometown called National Record Mart, and they didn't get imports or other cool style records. But I went to a Christian bookstore and I got a yellow 45. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah, that was the great thing about Enigma Records back in the day. They were genius because they were always releasing new product in terms of vinyl and special packages. You know, they released the first Soldiers Under Command, for example, on black vinyl, sold it all, then released it on white vinyl, sold it all, then released it, you know, in I think yellow vinyl. And they just kept going and going with every album. So it was really cool. So we have a lot of different collector pieces out there available for sure.
Yeah, and I still have that in my collection. And then the other thing, and then Mark, I'll let you go, let you go. I got to mention that the lead singer and main dude in my particular band, which is called Like It, his name is Jamie Ross, and he has done sound for, done lights for you, not only at
Oh,
BB King's and in other places in Long Island, but even in Europe somewhere, he ended up doing lights for you guys.
wow.
Yeah,
Well,
his name
that's
is Jamie
awesome,
Ross.
man.
He's a super fan. He even has a Tim Gaines signature bass. So just have to mention that.
Dude, had I known that, I would have had him up on stage to sing a couple songs with us.
Hey, next time we'll do it.
Michael,
That'd
thank you
be
so
awesome.
much for speaking with us. And it is the 35-year anniversary this year of To Hell with the Devil. It's crazy. I cannot believe it.
Can you believe it? You know what that means? I'll tell you, it means one thing only. It means that I am freaking old.
Yeah, I was going to
That's
say
what
we're
that
all
means.
old.
You look great. You look young. You look very young. I think you look younger than me. So you're good.
We
I don't
cannot
know,
wait to
man.
get you
Lately,
back out on the road.
I feel like Grizzly Adams lately. This is COVID beard, you know. I'll shave it.
Right,
When we
right.
hit the
Everybody's
road
got
again.
that.
All right. Michael, you stay safe, and please, let's get you back out on the road. We cannot wait to get some live music from you again real soon.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me. God bless, man. I'll see you next time.
God
Okay.
bless.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Michael. God bless.
See you later.
Cool.
Take
All
care.
right. So we are
How
we
cool
are
is
moving
that?
along here. So our next guest is ready, John. He is in the waiting room. I'll give you a talking metal toast there.
Yeah, let's do a
Oh,
talking
he's
about
not,
toast.
he's
This
not,
is beer.
oh, I don't know. Maybe he's not ready. He's not ready yet.
Okay.
Oh, not ready yet. Okay. Oh, he
Not
just
ready.
logged in. Okay. So there
Okay.
we can hang. I thought he was ready. So I'll let you introduce him when we get him on.
Okay.
And
Okay.
what
I
I've been
even
doing is
have
kind
that
of cutting up
guitar of
the
his
interviews
that.
then and posting them separately on YouTube. But
Nice.
then you can also watch the extended show on YouTube because that goes up live, or not live. It goes up right after the live show is over. So this is so much fun, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to all the people who are helping out: JP, Marcy,
Yeah.
Sophia, Michael,
Yeah.
the whole gang over there, doing a great
Yeah.
job.
Everybody at
And,
SDN Broadcast, thank you so much. You guys are the best, and you make these so much more fun for me because when I was trying to engineer these, it was a mini nightmare. So not only is it much more fun for me, but these shows look great. They look professional, and I love the fact that there's a virtual green room, there's a virtual backstage. It's so cool, and I think it impresses our guests. So it's a neat thing.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So. Man, I remember I'm trying to think, seeing Mastodon I may have been the first time I saw them was with you and Josh Bernstein. Do you remember that was there? And it was
I
was
don't
that at
even know
Irving
if I remember
Plaza?
what venue.
Yeah, Irving Plaza. It had to be
Okay.
it had to be a long time. It had to be at least like
Yeah.
10,
Okay. I
12
do
years ago,
remember now.
right?
Yeah. I love Irving Plaza. What a great venue, and what a cool place to see Mastodon. But
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting some text here. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, they're getting Bill ready. I'm sure as soon as he's ready,
cool.
they can just send him in, and we will. You can do the intro, John, when he comes
Okay.
in.
I'm going to
And,
show him that guitar that I have that is his, and we'll see what he says about that. I
oh,
hope he doesn't want
okay.
it
Well, you
back.
might want to be careful with that. He might want it back.
I know
Yeah,
if he wants it back,
he's sad.
maybe he'll trade it to me for one of his new LTD models. So that would be cool.
Right, right. Okay. Well,
But
we'll soon find out, I guess. And
and
Mastodon,
I
21
Mark did
year anniversary of Mastodon, by the way.
nice. Yeah, I saw that video. It's so great. We're gonna have to ask him about that.
Yeah, right on. And how did you get to know Bill? You knew him when you were working at Gibson?
Yeah, so Jim Felber, who you of course know, who I work for at Gibson, who's one of my best friends of all time, he got to be good friends with Bill. And there was an event that I hosted. It was a private investor event at Gibson at the New York showroom. And the guests were Ace, Jason Hook, and Bill.
Wow.
And these were all three
Is there a
Gibson,
video of that? I seem to
signature.
remember seeing a video of that somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So they
Yeah.
did some playing, and then there was a blues jam. And believe it or not, I played drums, so I got to play with these amazing dudes. So it was like me on drums, Jason Hook on guitar, Ace on guitar, and Bill actually, even though he's a guitar player, played bass in this
Right.
like blues jam we did. And I've got it up on astronomy.com so you can
Yeah, I remember.
navigate
I
to it and
remember
find it.
seeing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Well,
cool.
that was so
Very
cool. I've always thought these guys in Mastodon were like just super, super cool. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
They
Absolutely. And
are.
so much great music through the years. So, I don't know. How are we doing with Bill, guys? Is he almost ready or don't know? Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we will.
Cool.
So
So,
Mark,
are you back
what
in the
else is
office
going?
now, John? Are you back in the office? I thought I saw
No,
a
no, I'm
picture of
not in the
you.
office. I posted
No.
something on Facebook, but I was in Lynn's office building at that point,
Ah, okay. Okay.
just taking some cool photos because I was back in Manhattan. I went to work with her for a day. She's not back in the office either, but she goes in occasionally. But yeah, I'm not sure when that's going to happen. I'm getting antsy. I kind of want to go back into the city, like
Yeah.
just to hang out. And I gotta say that Hide, the bass player of Like It, has a new restaurant called I think it's called like Sushi Corcoran or something like that. And how cool is that? The bass player of Like It, one of our two bass players, not to forget about Dave, but Hide has his own Japanese restaurant, and
Right.
he is
Right on.
straight out of Tokyo, Japan, and he is here, and he is making great Japanese food in his own restaurant in Manhattan. And I'm going to make sure I've got the actual proper name of that
And speaking
so we
of
can say it.
bassists from Japan, John, I'm sure you heard this news that what was her name? Keiko of Wussy
Yeah.
passed
Mhm.
away. So I remember going to a party at her apartment. Now, were you with me there? It was before a rat show.
I
I don't
probably
know.
was.
I
I've
think
been to Keiko's
yeah.
apartment many, many times, and Keiko, we love Keiko. Keiko and Jamie, of course, were together for many years, and she was a bassist, and she was just such a like a beautiful person. I never use terms like that, but she was a great graphic artist, and she was just great. She's come to Like It recent Like It gigs, and I was so sorry to hear that she passed away, and it was unexpected for me. I had no idea that was you know happening. But
Right on, right on. And
so
what about
tribute
like
to
it? Are you guys?
let's do a toast to Keiko, because and I'm going to
Oh,
use
okay,
this
sure.
pink drink, which is sort of like a you know girly looking drink. Let's do this is a toast to the great Keiko, who has been our friend for many, many years. And she was great, and we won't forget her. Um, so Hide's restaurant
Yeah.
is called Sukiyaki Corcoran, and it's at
Oh, okay.
16 Delancey Street. So it's a really hip area, 16 Delancey, Sukiyaki Corcoran. So you
And
need to
he
go
just
to
opened the
that. And
restaurant
yeah, he opened his own restaurant. Now his Hide
on
his
Delancey.
like it
Wow, he
name
must
is
have some
Jan
serious funds.
Morningstar, but what's that?
On Delancey, he must have some serious backing for that. That's not
Yeah, no
cheap
doubt
real
about it.
estate.
Yeah, Hide, also known as Jan Morningstar or Hide Morningstar, has opened his own restaurant, Sukiyaki Coco Run, 16 Delancey Street, New York, New York. This
Right on.
the only town that's so nice they named it twice, as David Letterman said.
Right. Right on. Right on, man. Cool. So gigs are like it playing any gigs? Are there gigs on the
Okay,
calendar?
so I'm going to address this, and I've got to carefully word this. Um, you may see that some Like It gigs are currently scheduled, and we are assessing them on a case by case basis, and more information will follow.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, Bill is ready. Why don't you give us an official introduction, and we'll bring Bill in.
Okay, hey guys, welcome to Talking Metal. We have the one and only Bill Kelleher from one of our favorite bands, Mastodon.
And there he is.
Bill,
What's up,
how
guys?
are you?
Bill,
Bill,
thank you
thanks
so
Great.
so
much
How's
for
it
much
going?
for
joining
taking the
us.
time out.
Yeah, all good, man. Thanks for thinking of me,
How you been?
Uh honestly, man, pretty damn busy. and not with touring, obviously, or any stuff like that. But just really staying busy, being a dad, and my wife's an epidemiologist working on COVID safety
Wow.
right now. So I
Wow.
don't even really see her. She goes into her office in the front room, and she doesn't come out until 7 o'clock at night. We sit down on the couch after I made her dinner, and we watch The Wire. That's kind of like then we go to bed.
Oh, I love
Kind
The
of our
Wire.
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like I got two kids who are 6'4", and they're teenagers, and I'm cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and drive them all over, and just busy, really busy doing that. But the good thing that came out of this quarantine is that we just finished up a 15-song album, and we're halfway through the mixing process right now, which is awesome. That's been great. Um, I'm sitting here in my personal studio at home in Atlanta right now, and I just been working on, when I have a free moment, I come down here and I just riff out and record as much stuff as I can. I hope to get another album's worth of material, ready by the time this one comes out. So
Wow.
That is
Now,
amazing. And as we mentioned, as Mark mentioned earlier on the show, Mastodon is now 21 years old, and you guys have posted this really funny video. Now, how did that whole thing come about?
man, I don't know. It's pretty goofy. I mean, we're all goofy dudes, and I think Troy's always really good with dates and locations and times. He's very prompt. When we used to, you know, tour around, he drove a lot, and he always knew right where he was going, and he always knows those famous places, the highways, and he knows everybody's birthday, wedding day, anniversaries. So he was like, well, when we turn 21, which is only in a couple of years, we could do a funny video where we're old enough to drink now. And, I kind of forgot about it, honestly. I was 29 when the band started. So my birthday's coming up next week. And Troy was like, oh, I got this, he's really into doing these funny, goofy video things. So he put together some kind of script, to celebrate our birthday, and had the giant driver's license made, and
Yeah.
he really gets into that kind of stuff. And he seems very calm and shy and quiet, but he's actually probably the funniest one of all of us, because he's so dry, and his humor is really dry too. But we like to show our funny side once in a while.
That is
absolutely.
awesome.
And Bill, just to kind of unwrap some of the stuff you mentioned in the beginning there. First off, thanks to your wife for the work she's doing. I think that's really incredible, and it's people like her who we are so in debt to. So thank you to her. And also, you mentioned the recording that you're doing. Now you're working with a different producer. You guys have had some pretty high profile producers on previous records. Can you tell us what producer you're working with on the 8th studio album by Mastodon?
Yes, his name is David Bottrill, or David Bottrill, however you like to pronounce it. He is a Canadian guy, lives in Toronto. Honestly, I hadn't really heard of him before. Last year we were kind of tossing around who we were going to use for the new record, and you know, we have our guys that we have a couple different producers that we like, and I mean, we've liked everyone we've used in the past, but I think with this record, we kind of were just like, we might need somebody new, somebody really fresh and brand new, and we got on the phone with David, and we had a couple other, people we had been talking to, and with COVID and everything, a lot of people just weren't available or willing to come to Atlanta. So I'll back up a little bit. 2 years ago, I helped build a studio in a building that Mastodon owns. We have a bunch of rehearsal spots there here in Atlanta, and I couldn't rent out a couple of the rooms. I managed the whole place, and I couldn't get 2 of the rooms rented out. And I was like, man, we should build a studio down here. It'd be great. So, a couple times after tour, I just spent months down there, just nailing stuff up and, screwing screws into boards and building a really nice studio. And my dream was always to do our record there, and my dream came true. So it was really cool that when we got on the phone with David, he seemed like a great guy. He already had some of the demos, so he had all kinds of notes, stuff that we hadn't even. That's what you need a producer for, someone who kind of thinks outside the box. The 4 of you have been playing the same songs, demoing the same songs for so long. It's like, you're kind of like, is this even good anymore? I can't really tell. Does it need something? Or I'm kind of lost. It's like you can't see the forest through the trees. You're like, what's what? Everything's upside down. So he came in and he was diligent. He had all kinds of notes written out. He had done his homework, and he was like, for this song, I have this idea. For this song, I have these ideas. And he kind of spouted them off to us on the phone. And I said, well, are you willing to come to Atlanta and work with us here sight unseen at our studio? And he's like, as long as your studio is, got the certain equipment that I need, and it's, a decent sized room and everything. And we'd done a lot of other records there with other bands. And he was willing to come down. And, honestly, at first, I just wasn't really into trying anything new. But the more I thought about it, I was like, this record is really special, and it's different, and times are different right now. And, when the record comes out, it'll show that it's like, well, this is definitely, David had a lot to do with steering the direction of a lot of the sounds and how it went. And he was a pleasure to work with. I mean, he was, we talk every couple times a week. We talk, and he'd come over for dinner, and we'd all hang out. And he's just just down to earth guy, and very approachable. And part of, I think, like 90% of being a good producer is really having like a degree in psychology almost. Because when you're dealing with fragile egos, and like, we're band guys, we're musicians, we've poured our heart and soul into like a musical riff, and it really means a lot to us. And it's just heartbreaking if somebody's like, no, I don't like that riff. That riff sucks. Like, that's not going to be in the song. Like, you can't say that. You have to like circumvent the obvious, like, no, man up and get rid of that riff, write something better. He wasn't, and that was one of the, my first questions, like, well, how do you deal with, if there's certain people in the band might be more sensitive than others. And he's like, oh, I've worked with so-and-so and so-and-so. And he's like, I'm just a big fan of your band, and I just want to make the best. I want to make your best record that that we set out to make. And he just had a really good, he had a really good way with words when it came down to, like, without insulting anybody's like creativeness. He was firm, and we basically tried everything. He said, I don't have a problem with trying anything at all. As long as, if you're going to do it with gusto, and just go for it and try it. If someone's got, hey, I want to try to sing here. Hey, I want to try to play a solo here. Hey, let's try it. Maybe it doesn't fit, but we never know until we try it. So we all just kind of went in with open minds, and the result is amazing. It's the fullest, biggest sounding record we've done so far.
Wow.
That
I
is
cannot
amazing.
wait to hear it. When do you think we'll be hearing it, Bill?
Well, I was hoping for summer, but I think the powers that be are pushing it back till October, maybe September, October. So
Now,
I'm
did
sure
you
there'll
say
be-
that you guys are currently mixing, or are you finished with the mixing stage?
we're halfway through the mixing?
Oh, okay.
So he'll mix the song every couple days, and he'll send it over to us in Dropbox. And we all listen to it, and I go listen to it in the car. I listen to it in my studio. I listen on all kinds of different speakers to make sure that all the things and little details that I want to hear are there. And we just kind of give them pointers and notes, like, oh, hey, I want to hear the the snare needs a little more treble in this part, or we want to hear the kick drum more right here, and turn down the vocals in this chorus, and he'll be like, okay, he'll get all the notes in Dropbox. It's technology is pretty cool. He gets all the notes, and then he turns it around, and an hour later, and he mixes everything in Pro Tools. So it's I think it's pretty easy just to save that's the way it was, and then go back to something. And
Right.
yeah.
I love it. So, hey, one of the things I wanted to touch on was that rehearsal studio and recording studio that you built. And I remember seeing on your Facebook, like the evolution of that studio. And now you said you recorded other bands there, and I know bands have rehearsed there. How's that going? And is it temporarily closed due to COVID?
We were pretty slow for a while, honestly. Like right when COVID hit, we had a bunch of bands that were scheduled, and a lot of people pulled out. We're pretty fresh business. It's about 2 years old, and we've had Blackberry Smoke comes in a lot. We've
Nice.
had Starbenders, the Vagabonds, a lot of bands from the southeast. A lot of bands from Nashville coming down, but we did slow down for a while. But when we slowed down, Mastodon came in, and we started doing all our demos. Like we come into this place and it's a very small studio, more for demos. We come in here and we kind of hash out the ideas, and once we record the drums and get our basic rough ideas, we take it over to, it's called West End Sound. That's the studio. So we take our demo stuff over there, and we kind of re-demo it, I guess, and kind of work out kinks, and add vocals as we go. So we did that for a few months, and had a couple bands here and there. But yeah, it was very slow. Business is picking back up again, though, thank goodness.
Great.
We did a live stream there. There was a lot of bands coming in for live stream stuff, so we kind of were setting up for that.
I'm happy to hear that there's been action in the studio, which is great, as opposed to it just being shut down. So you guys were using the space, which is good. Plus, it gave Mastodon a chance to get in there and do what you guys wanted to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Bill, I know you mentioned The Wire earlier, and you actually were on one of my favorite TV shows, Game of Thrones. You were on a couple episodes of that. What other shows are you watching through quarantine? Are there other shows you've been into? Did you see Mandalorian season 2? Any other shows you want to talk about? How was that? Did you enjoy
one
that?
One of my favorites that I'm waiting for the next season is Ozarks.
Yeah. I don't know if it's coming back. I heard it might not come back for another season. Is that?
No, it has to come back.
Okay.
It's got to come back. We'll say that. The last one was such a cliffhanger.
Hey, I love The Wire. So, is this the first time you guys are you rewatching The Wire, or are you just kind of getting into The Wire now?
I'm just getting into it. Everyone's told me it's so amazing, and I'm still kind of waiting for it to get awesome. It's good, it's cool, but it's not as captivating as like some of the more modern TV, more contemporary shows.
What season are you in?
2.
Okay, it'll get way better. Like 2's good, but it'll get a lot better.
Everybody says, yeah, that's what everyone tells me. So I'm hanging in there for that. My wife's watching Shameless, which she says, I can't stand this show, I want it to be over, but she watches it every night. It's kind of guilty pleasure, I guess. The Handmaid's Tale, we watched that together. It's real hard for my wife and I to agree on like one show.
Right.
What's the one? Schitt's Creek. That was great.
Oh yeah,
I love
we're watching that. Yeah.
That's a great couples hug on the couch kind of.
Yeah, and it's only 20 minutes an episode, which is also good, because it's just it's a quick thing.
Yeah. We binged it. And we got all the way to like what we thought was the very last episode. And a few months went by, and we never really watched just regular TV, but we saw, I think it was like the Oscars or something, and they were talking about the last episode, and I was like, wait a minute, they were showing scenes from it. I'm like, we didn't see that. So we missed like the very last episode. So we rewatched, well, we watched the last episode, and we're finally done with it. And I was like, wow, I can't believe we almost missed the very last one. But
The finale.
And
Hey,
what about The
I want to
Mandalorian?
talk
Are
about.
you enjoying that, Mandalorian?
yeah,
You like?
Mandalorian is great. The first season was a little stale. It just kind of, it seemed like it kept the same exact storyline every, like the little Yoda gets kidnapped and then he has to go find him or whatever and rescue him. But the second season I thought was great. It was really well done.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for all those new Star Wars shows that are coming out that Disney's putting out. There's like 9 of them.
Yeah, I cannot wait. And your son, I believe, is named Harrison. My son's named Harrison too, after Harrison Ford, I think.
Sweet.
What you named? Yeah, so we have that in common. But
That's
before we let you go, Bill, John
Oh.
has something he wants to show you and talk to you about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I want you to talk about your ESP signature guitar too. Like I always want to talk gear, but I want to show you something. And I could have swore I mentioned this to you at one point, but I ended up with one of your guitars, and there's a little A on it, which I think might prove that it's yours. You see that? Like there's a little A on the headstock
that's
there.
for the tuning.
Yeah. So somehow, I'm wondering, like, because of course, we know each other from Gibson. Did you trade this back to him? I found it with no guts in it, like kind of like almost discarded, and I put it back together again. And Jim let me, or I don't know if I should say this, but I ended up with the guitar. Let's just say that.
Is that like a 2007 or it's a later one, right?
2008. Yeah, 2008.
I wonder if that's the guitar. I gave them a guitar to fix up for me because they had given me that guitar and there was something wrong with it. And I think I brought it to Jim while I was on tour and I said, hey, can you make this guitar right? There was something wrong. I think I was playing it on, I was going to play it on Letterman or something like that. And
okay, that's probably what it was, right?
And I brought it to Jim to like fix it, or there was something was wrong with it. Maybe it was the bridge was needed some adjustment, or it was crackling, or it was cutting out, or something. That's crazy though.
So they must have. Did they give you another guitar in its place? Because I don't want to have like your guitar that you're missing. Like,
no, I'm pretty sure he swapped it out for something else.
Okay, that's what I think.
So John does not have to give you that guitar.
What's it? What'd you say, Mark?
John does not have to give Bill the guitar.
I don't have to give the guitar back. Yeah. So what happened was it had no guts in it. And here's a funny thing. I assembled it, but I couldn't find a pick guard. And I don't know if you know this, but Explorers have different style, like depending on the year, the screws are in different spots. So you can't take a pick guard off. Like I have 2 Explorers. You can't switch the pick guards on them. And then one day I opened up some old broken down case and I found your original pick guard. And so then I got that on the guitar. So these pickups are actually not the ones that were in your guitar. They're just brand new pickups. I don't even have them wired. They're just in there. But I put it back together and I'll tell you the truth. It feels great. Like I love this guitar. So anyway, I wanted to show you, but now I know what that A means. And that's the key of A that you had, or like you had it in A tuning.
A tuning, yeah. That might be the guitar I used on the Crack the Sky tour in like 2010.
Wow.
I used a white Explorer a lot. I mean, I have about 15 Explorers.
I love it.
I'm pretty sure that he gave me a new one.
I see something right to your right, and I see the back of a Silverburst. Now, that is like my dream guitar right there. Like, that is awesome. Like, I love you. Now, tell us about your model here. Tell us about this.
Okay. So this is my model. This is when I left Gibson. Well, it's not that I left them, but they just didn't renew my contract, and we're kind of weird about that. So
I'm sorry. I had nothing to do with that.
No, I know you didn't.
Yeah.
It's fine. It was like everybody I knew that who was helping me at Gibson was leaving or got fired or left.
Yeah, that's what happened. Everybody left. So, Jim left, I left, everybody, the whole team left. And when that happens, it's Mark, we've all been through that before, but
Yeah. So I'm gonna show you this too. This is one of my
oh, that is amazing. I
beautiful.
love that. That's like a green burst,
yeah,
that is cool.
killer color. So yeah, when I left Gibson, I knew that ESP was kind of waiting in the wings. And I just never really was a big fan of their shapes. So the first thing I said, I called them up and said, hey, what can we, can I work with you guys? And they're like, yeah, we'd love to work with you. And I was like, well, can I design my own guitar? And they were like, yeah, of course. I was like, really? Okay, so I can draw like a shape and you'll make it and we'll sell it. And they're like, yeah, well, they're like, first we're going to make the Eclipse model first and just put my name on it. And I mean, I helped design that too. I mean, the body shape was already there, but I designed the lace pickups and the color scheme, the weight, and, some small configurations, but it did really, really well. And I used the guitar on a few tours and it was a great playing guitar. Even the LTD, I was like, man, this is a great playing guitar. And they said, cool, let's design what you want. And what I did was I wanted something that wasn't so damn pointy. I mean, I love Explorer is about as pointy as I can get, but those super death metal pointy guitars, I'm not really into them. So,
Right.
I had an RD and I had a Firebird, and I just started drawing.
Yeah, that's like a reverse fire, or I think that's actually the non-reverse Firebird shape, sort of.
Sort of. If you,
yeah, like,
I mean, I have a
lot
of
I love that shape. That's it. Yeah, I see. It's based on
beautiful looking guitars.
Yeah, it's really, it's like a Firebird style, kind of upside down of what the current Firebirds are like, and it's just awesome. But
well, I mean, somebody was saying, of course, when they first came out, people were like, oh, that's just a non-reverse Firebird. I'm like, no, it's not. Look at one next to this. And it's
so
kind of like
it's
an
different,
RD. Right? It's almost like an RD because RD has this part here. And
oh yeah, you know what? Let me grab my ID once real quick.
my favorite shapes of guitar. Yeah,
let me get my earphones back in. So I am sorry that I said it kind of reminded me of a reverse Firebird, but you're or a non-reverse Firebird, but you're right. It is kind of like an RD
it's
style
like a reverse
RD. Yeah,
almost,
that's cool.
So
so it's like this. Yeah, very cool.
And also, like, one of my favorite guitar shapes was like a Jag Stang, like Kurt Cobain played, except bigger. The guitar was those guitars are really small, and I needed something bigger. So I kind of incorporated that in there as well. So it's kind of a mixture of all that stuff,
It's a great shape, and I love the block inlays, and I love that there are LTD versions and ESP versions. So for all of your younger fans who might not have enough money to buy the ESP version, they can get the LTD.
And the LTD version is just as good. I mean, it just the ESP obviously is made in Japan and it has a lot more expensive parts on it. But when we were first recording Emperor of Sand, I think that was 2016. They had just made an LTD and they mailed it to me, and I used that on the entire record on like every song. And I was like, this guitar sounds so great, plays great, and it's just an LTD. But when I got the ESP version, I can't tell the difference unless I read the headstock,
Right, that is amazing, and I know that company is always produces top of the line stuff, and Bruce Kulick currently with Grand Funk Railroad, formerly a Kiss. He often plays his LT, like he has ESP versions and LTD versions of his guitars, and he likes playing the LTD versions as well.
Yeah, they're about the same, you know. But they've always been so good to me and nice to me, and everybody there. They, you know, I call them, they answer. I ask them for a guitar, they send it. They're just really easy to work with, and they're kind of have that kind of like small business kind of relationship, you know.
I love it.
Right
I
on.
love it. Now, go ahead, Mark.
No, no, you go ahead, John.
I was going to say, now, do you guys have, has there been any talk at all about touring? And the normal answer to that is there's been talk, but we don't know anything. In like, you know, because no one, even bands that I work with, agents, and nobody knows when things are going to happen.
We just kind of had a small talk about that, like a conference call with management, and I think there are some festivals and shows at the end of the year in the U.S. that are still going on, and like Reading and
Nice.
Leeds apparently is still happening in the UK, which is summertime. I think it's July. At the moment,
Nice.
it's still on. You know, like Download canceled, Rock im Ring, like the German festivals, they kind of like dominoes, you know, they just the next one, we're all gonna collapse. You know, I don't know how we're gonna recover from this either. It's I'm just dying to get out there and play again and travel. I mean, I miss traveling the most.
Wow.
I mean, I love hitting heavy chords and riffs through my amps on stage in front of people, and the wind blowing my hair is great. But the traveling, you know, seeing old friends and just moving around, you know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We believe me. We all. I think Mark and I feel the same way, and we just can't wait to get back out there, make more music, play it live, and go see bands and go see friends of ours as well, like you guys. And you know, if there are any festivals, we'll keep an eye out on the Mastodon website, and you know, make sure that we're aware of them. We'll let all of our viewers and listeners know, and we'll come out and see you when you know we finally get back out there again.
I can't wait.
Bill, thank you
Thanks
for your
for having
time
me.
tonight. Yeah, we really appreciate your time, and stay safe. And yeah, hopefully Mastodon back out on the road maybe this fall, fingers crossed. And we are so excited for your, I believe, 9th studio album.
Yeah. Well,
Looking forward to it.
maybe, like I said, maybe towards the end of the year, but there'll be some singles coming out, I'm sure. And yeah, it's all
Great
good
stuff.
stuff. The light at the end of the tunnel is starting to shine a little bit. So let's
Right.
all hope for the best, you know.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And thank your wife again as well. Oh, and one more thing. I hope that you still have this pet, but I hope that something didn't happen to him. But you're not going to believe this. My childhood nickname that my parents still call me till this day, and I'm 51 years old, is Moose, which is the name of. Is Moose still alive?
Moose is still alive. He's doing great. He sleeps with me every night. I have him on my. He's on my guitar picks. I'm trying to find one to show you.
Yeah.
We have Moose playing cards. That's your nickname, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. None of my rock friends know that. Like, but my any of my relatives and my parents still refer to me as Moose. So now I guess they do.
Is there a story behind that?
No, my grandfather, he used to go to the Moose Lodge, but I don't believe I was named after that. The story that I heard was somebody said he looks like something, and then he goes, "I think he looks like a moose," and I thought that was the story. I don't know. So my mom's father, my grandfather Joseph V. Mash, he named me Moose.
Oh, there we go.
I love it. That's awesome.
Pick.
The
How
moose
old
is
is
loose. I love
Moose?
that. That is so cool. I love it. What a great way to end the night. That is awesome. And thank you for showing that to us. And tell Moose that Talking Metal says hello.
Yeah, Bill, how old is Moose?
He's I rescued him. I was on a jog. I was on tour. I had a day off in Amarillo, Texas, and he was running through traffic. And I just scooped him up and I brought him on the tour bus. And believe me, I called the Humane Society. They scanned him. We put out pictures of him all over the Lost Pets of Amarillo, Texas Facebook page. Nobody claimed him, and they told me that if no one, they were going to take him and put him in the shelter, and no one claimed him in a week, they're going to destroy him.
Oh wow!
I was like, hell no. I'm gonna sneak him on the bus because our bus driver didn't want dogs. You know, we don't have dogs on the bus. So snuck him on the bus, put him in my bunk, and he's been with me ever since. He sleeps under the covers at my feet like every single night. He's probably, I thought he was like a little, he's really small. So I thought he was a puppy, but when the vet looked at his teeth, they said, oh, he's about 4 or 5 years old. So I think he's probably getting up there 8 or 9 now.
Okay.
But
Nice.
he's a little brindle chihuahua. He's the best.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
Well, you're the best,
Mark
Bill.
has,
Thank you for joining us. And
Thanks for thinking of me, guys. And hope to see you live in person soon.
I hope
Absolutely.
so. Absolutely.
Okay, Bill, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon. We'll keep in touch.
All right, dudes. Later on.
Take care.
All right, John. Well, we do have to wrap it up.
That's
We're a little
awesome.
bit over our time here, but always great hanging with you, John. And we want to encourage all the Talking Metal listeners to stay subscribed to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Talking Metal, and a lot of great content going up on the YouTube channel. Did you see the video I posted about Carmine Apice's hair?
Yes, I did watch that one. Yeah, and you were like, I'm right here with the guy. It's his real hair.
Now, here's the thing. I remembered going up to his hair and actually like going through it with my fingers, but the guy who edited it for us, Jay Bones, you know Jay Bones, he's like, that footage isn't there. And I was like, are you sure? And so it must have been, the camera must have been off, but I swear to God, I went up to Carmine Apice's hair and I was going
and
through
so
it
you
like
put
this.
your hands in his hair. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
you
absolutely
video.
it's like, yeah, it's super thick and it is coming out of his scalp. So everyone on Blabbermouth, and I've already deleted a number of comments on Carmine videos I've posted in the past saying he needs to get rid of that crazy thing on his head. That's his actual hair.
Yeah.
Maybe it's dyed, but that is his actual hair.
Right. And you believe me, he doesn't care. I mean, he always had purple or different color dye in his hair. That's his thing. But so that is amazing, man. I wish that I had that hair. What's my hair look like tonight? Oh, that's what it looks like.
Well, yeah.
My hair, listen to this. I dyed my hair. It's supposed to be black, but the problem is that the top of the hair turned gray, and then when I put this like sapphire black on my head, the top of my hair is blue. So I'm wearing a hat for a while because it's I swear to God, it dyed it blue. So the rest of my hair is black. The new hair is blue.
Huh.
And it's not cool blue like down
mine's
here.
coming in kind of gray. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's
yeah. Well,
there.
Mark,
anyway.
you got the best hair in rock in Talking Metal.
Well,
sure.
thanks.
But I think it's great. I on the other hand, used to have really nice curly blonde hair. However, that is no longer the case, and this is what I got. But I don't mind. I mean, some people 51 years old, they look like my grandfather, or not that he looked bad, but they look like somebody's grandfather.
Right, I hear you.
So
we have.
Believe me, when we
try to
were
stay
young,
youthful
50-year-olds didn't look like we do, right?
Yeah, Mick Jagger looked pretty good at 50.
He did, but he's a rock star. But the guy down the street who was 50, they look like I don't know, like grandparents.
Trying to think. So yeah, some of these Hollywood guys. I mean, yeah, they look good. But yeah, the guy down the street, yeah, who knows? But anyways, we got to wrap it. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Snake, Michael Sweet. Wow, this was a intense night. A lot of great interviews, and Bill from Mastodon. Great stuff. So much fun. Great guitar talk between you and Bill. I always like just kind of kicking back and listening to you.
Yeah, he has some cool stuff, and that Silver Burst, signature model is really nice. And I do see now how he was saying that it's not just a, the Firebird that we all think is really a reverse Firebird. So the regular Firebird, which looks to us upside down, that's called a non-reverse Firebird. And so his guitar is a cross between a non-reverse Firebird and a reverse RD, which stands for research and development. And this is basically the Ghost guitar.
Oh, okay.
You know the band
right.
Ghost, but now they have
Yep.
theirs made by another company that does like a take on these. But
I
the
gotcha.
original Ghost
Cool.
guitars were RDs.
All right, my friend, we will reconvene in a month or so, right? Do another one of these.
Absolutely. I think it's good. We had a great show tonight. Yeah, 3 amazing guests. Thank you to Bill Kelleher. Thank you to Michael Sweet. And thank you to Snake Sabo. Do not call him Dave or else he thinks that he is in trouble.
Right. Yeah.
All
There we
right.
go. I have to show
And
off
thanks
my
to the
my
team
watch
at
band.
SDN Broadcast. We love you and we appreciate everything you're doing. And I am on a new computer today, guys, which is why that there's not some kind of 5-second latency thing that screws me all up like it did on the last episode. So today I feel like I'm in sync with everybody.
In sync with everyone. There you go. Thank you, John. Talk to you next
Okay,
time.
thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Expensive. I